Next up was the tag team coffin match of Darby Allin and Sting versus Swerve Strickland and Christian Cage. Straight away, Darby's little student video that he normally does was Jack the Ripper inspired, with Sting dressed up as Jack the Ripper. And then they came out to Metallica's Seek and Destroy, which obviously was Sting's music back in WCW, so that got a huge pop. Clearly, Tony Khan was trying to put as much into the show as possible to make it the best show, and yet, very quickly, Darby and Swerve got out of the ring, so you were left with Christian and Sting, two icons of TNA during the mid-2000s, which got a huge TNA chant from the crowd. I was part of it. It was very surreal seeing these two in the ring again, especially in 2023. And this match was just fun. It was nonsense. Darby obviously doing all of his spots. They ended up getting matching thumbtack jackets, doing stinger splashes onto Christian and Swerve. Obviously, Christian and Darby furthering their story with the TNT title. Sting getting, his normal spots getting knocked down, but then no selling offense. To one point where the table that Darby had placed Swerve on, Sting did a splash onto it, didn't want to break, so he had to do a leg drop to put Swerve through it. Very fun. Darby doing a lot of high-flying Daredevil stuff. But this was the point where I think the crowd was starting to come down a bit. They weren't quiet, but they weren't as into it or as into the show as they had been at the start. That being said, it was a fun match. You got Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne came down during the match. They brawled. Luchasaurus took out Nick Wayne and took him off. The ending of the match came when the ending of the match came when Sting hit a Scorpion Death Drop on Swerve on top of the coffin, and it took both Darby and Sting to get Swerve in and close the coffin. But there is debate online that Swerve shouldn't have lost the match because his hair was out of the coffin. They closed the coffin with him in, but some of his hair was hanging out. The reason why they say that is because earlier in the match, the coffin was in the middle of the ring. They brought it in after a while, and Swerve chucked Sting into the coffin, and threw the baseball bat in, which obviously led to the spot of Swerve showboating, closing the lid, and it turns out Sting's baseball bat stopped the lid from closing. Because that didn't count as the lid closing, there's people online going, Swerve shouldn't have lost because his hair was poking out. So yeah, a bit of goofiness, obviously furthering the Darby Christian Luchasaurus feud, obviously, which got a bit, I say big, but it was promoted during the match that it's Luchasaurus versus Darby for the TNT title at All Out, and that. So yeah, it was clearly furthering that. But yeah, it was just the normal sort of tag team match that Sting does, obviously playing the greatest hits and that. After the coffin match, we got the match of Chris Jericho versus Will Ospreay, and this was a really fun match. Obviously, starting off with Fozzy doing a live performance of Judas after Jericho did another tribute to Freddie Mercury, because there was a lot of Queen references because of where they were and the significance of Wembley and Queen. It made sense, but the crowd really woke up for the Fozzy Judas performance. That being said, though, the crowd was really into Will Ospreay, obviously being the hometown, or not hometown, but the home countryman, if we say it. Again, this match, you like the Bucks FTR, you just need to go and check out for yourself. So it was really good. It was a lot of not Ospreay proving himself to Jericho, but it was more of like him showing Jericho that he is better than Jericho thought. And that showed in how the story, obviously, Ospreay is phenomenal with some of the moves he's able to hit. And even the most simplest move of Jericho hitting a snap suplex onto Ospreay, onto the apron, and Ospreay landed on his neck, which he famously has had surgery on, looked very painful. Not pain. Oh yeah, obviously it did look like it hurt, but it was like the audience like went like that, and like got bought into like Jericho winning, and obviously some really great spots of like Ospreay hitting a shooting star press onto Jericho, who was hanging on the top rope. So it was like bam, and that some like a corkscrew like kick up, drop kick from Ospreay was amazing, and like the crowd was on the edge of their seats the whole time with Ospreay and that, and obviously he kept trying to go for the bear with me. He kept trying to go for Stormbreaker during the match. Jericho kept breaking out of it like twice, and then he was. This is obviously getting close to the end of the match. He was able to hit it on Jericho once, and then the ref counted, and Jericho kicked out, and everyone's like, and the crowd. You could feel in the crowd there was an audible gasp of, "Whoa!" Wasn't expecting Jericho to kick out, but then it was one of those. The best way to describe it, it was as if Jericho knew that Ospreay had beaten him, but Jericho didn't want Ospreay to win without knowing that Jericho knew. He knew it, and it came to the point of Jericho flicking the bird to Ospreay hitting a hidden blade and a second Stormbreaker to get the win over Jericho, and the crowd popped, and Ospreay clearly was so happy to be able to perform in the biggest stage that he's ever performed in, and then the biggest wrestling show ever, which then led to, after the match, after seemingly teasing yet another breakup between Jericho and Sammy, which, we've gone down this road a couple of times, so yeah, I'm not that bothered by it. But afterwards, we got Nigel in the ring to announce the attendance for All In London, which is a whopping 81,035 paid fans were there, and that is the biggest record of in wrestling, in any wrestling show ever. That is bigger than, obviously, SummerSlam at Wembley. That's bigger than any WWE show they've ever done, and that. So obviously that's been a big thing about the whole show. It is the biggest wrestling show of all time. And then came the penultimate match of House Black versus the Acclaimed and the badass Billy Gunn for the Trios Championships. Quite nicely, when House Black came out, they brought Buddy was holding a lantern, and commentary then mentioned about Bray Wyatt's passing, and they did a nice tribute, which was great. The match itself, fine, a solid TV match, I would say. Very fun. Obviously, Max Caster doing his rap, obviously very British based. Some of the references were a bit outdated and that, but overall it was still a really solid rap. If you haven't heard it, go and listen to it and that. But yeah, like I said, this was a very solid main event TV match, and that reflected in the crowd. Obviously, the crowd really woke up for the Acclaimed coming out, but once the match started, they kind of died down and that. But the match itself was quite fun. Obviously, a lot of spots between the Acclaimed and then Brody King coming in, destroying, and then Billy Gunn coming in with Julia Hart getting in the way and the Acclaimed taking her out. And that very nasty spot of like Brody placing Billy in front of the barricade and Billy ducking as Brody came back, but he really boshed his head on the barricade, I think, which led to him getting a cut on his forehead, as we see later. Face paint, and then there's blood just coming over it. But yeah, some really nice spots. Buddy Matthews, really great, bumping for everyone and that, and doing some great spots. Including the spot where Matthews and Malachi both take on Billy. And Billy getting a real showcase of, like, as a veteran, like, he can still go, and he looked great in this and that. And the match came to an end when the Acclaimed hit a famouser and the mic drop for the win and that, and the Acclaimed and the badass Billy Gunn, or as after the match we hear, Daddy Ass is back. They are the new AEW Trios champions, which is great, and in a sign of respect, it was the House of Black that handed the belts over to him. So yeah, it was a fun TV match, and it was a way to bring down the crowd, ready for the main event, which was up next. And that main event was MJF versus Adam Cole, best friends, tag team champions, 1-on-1 for the World Championship. And like I said before, with the Ospreay Jericho and the FTR Bucks match, you need to check it out. I can't do this match enough justice, especially for the story they tell in this match, which is the story of MJF can't bring himself to hurt his best friend, his only friend, yet Adam Cole can do it. Adam's doing a lot more heelish stuff than he has done, because he knows he can beat MJF, and that shows very early on in the match. Pretty much straight away, both men get out and they get their tag team merch t-shirt, Better Than You Baby, and that plays into the story going through. And then the ongoing story plot of in their tag matches, MJF can't bring himself to do a suicide dive, which was in the tag match on the 0 hour. But he finally does it here and hits Adam with it. But he's in such disbelief that he can't believe he did it. Great, like I said, Adam Cole doing a lot more heelish stuff than he should be doing to his best friend, which led to one of the best spots in the whole show, where they break the match brawls to the outside, and Cole picks up MJF and hits a brainbuster on the steel stairs. And Cole's kind of like, after the move, jumps back and is like shocked that what he's just done to his supposed best friend and tag team partner. And MJF sells this by not moving an inch. Doesn't move. He plays dead practically. He doesn't move at all. Cole gets back in the ring, and the ref starts counting. And counting, and then we get to the 9, and just before he says 10, MJF dives in perfectly, doesn't hit the rope, doesn't hit the apron, just dives from laying still on the ground to right in and then dead. And it just shows the story they're telling of this, like. And then a bit later on, we get another sort of, can MJF go through it, as he goes to hit Cole with a pile driver on the announce table, but can't bring himself to do it. He's very conflicted. He's talking to himself, no, gets off, and then comes back, and Cole hits him with a pile driver. Cole can go through with it, MJF can't. He can't bring himself to hurt his only friend. And that. Which, obviously, we get. And then, probably, either the most it's probably the debatable on if it's controversial in your opinion. It's going to divide fans. They both shout double clothesline. And then they both go back, hit it, both down. Both men's shoulders are on the ground. Ref counts 3. Bell rings. It's a draw. Both MJF and Cole pinned each other. And that looks like it's it. MJF retains because it's a draw. Crowd boos. And even going through rewatching it, it did seem to be a letdown. But in some not a great callback and great storytelling, we get Cole getting on the mic and asking MJF for 5 more minutes. But last time, obviously, he didn't get it. This time, MJF does a bait and switch and says, no, we're not going 5 more minutes. We will go until we get a winner in Wembley. Which got a huge pop from the crowd and was amazing. And then, very shortly afterwards, Cole went to hit the Panama Sunrise on MJF, but MJF pulls the ref in, and the ref takes the Panama Sunrise, which was a great spot, which leads to MJF getting a chair, and MJF and Cole play throw it back to each other and that in the Eddie Guerrero spot, but where a lot of other people make it a lot cheesy and that, and it doesn't work, they actually made it work, because Cole goes down, MJF's holding it and just like, yeah, places the chair around his neck and then lays it on the ground. In an MJF way, he made it work. And then Cole's looking, like, laying down, looking over, and the ref gets up and he's like, and that, but it doesn't end there. Then we get Roderick Strong coming out and, like, debating and that, and Adam attacking the injured neck of MJF and that, and hitting a lot of other stuff. And after, my apologies, the ref spot with the Panama Sunrise didn't come before, it came after. Apologise. Trying to remember things. But when that spot did happen, ref's down and MJF gets up and gets the diamond ring, puts it on. Cole doesn't see it behind him, and he goes to hit him, but he can't. Again, like the match has been telling him, he just can't come to hurt his best friend. And that becomes abundant when Cole hits MJF with yet another Panama Sunrise, and Roddy tells him to use the belt, which he introduces, but Cole throws it down and says no, sends Roddy away, and MJF takes advantage of that and does a roll up and gets the win over Cole, which leads to the end of a great match, and that's not it. They continue it after the match. MJF's like happy that he's retained, but he's upset that Cole is devastated. He's in the corner, so MJF goes out, grabs the tag belts, and says, "Look, we are still together. We're still friends. We're still the tag champs." Cole throws it away. Roddy comes back down, and MJF's just like, fine, take your free shot. Turns his back on Cole, and Roddy is shouting to Adam to hit MJF because Roddy knows that MJF will turn on Adam. But Adam doesn't hit MJF. He just throws down the belt, and Roddy walks away disappointed. Personally, I would have liked it if Cole had hit Roddy with the belt, and then we get the embrace of the champs, and all is good between Max and Cole as the pay-per-view goes off the air. And that's it. That's AEW All In London 2023. Once again, apologies for the lateness of this video, but yeah, like I said, it's been busy. But yeah, please leave a comment with what you thought of the show, and if you were there or if you were watching it live, what did you think of the first AEW show outside of America, and so the biggest wrestling event in history? And also, please check out my vlog that I did of All In. I was there live. I vlogged my experience up there. I would love to see your thoughts on that as well. So please check out and keep an eye out on the channel for future videos of pay-per-views and that.